So this is the package 2 project update, and we are giving this session to the community councils. The objectives that we have this evening is for us to be able to update and engage with the on the project progress, as I mentioned before. We also want to be able to provide context and background to maybe some of the ideas and words going around on the street. We know how that works, small communities, word spread by word of mouth, but we want to, again, be able to have these sessions to be able to really dialogue with some key persons in the community, of which you are some of. Again, that also ties in with being able to provide clarity around the project. We also want to be able to highlight some of the key improvements that we are working towards in terms of upgrading the project. We also want to let everyone know what's coming, what's going to be new, what's going to be different, etc. And ultimately, we really would appreciate, our goal is really to make ambassadors, create ambassadors to be able, for you to be able to go out and tell the story to your friends, to your colleagues, to your communities, whoever those may be as well. And so with that, we also want to invite you to share your input with us. Your input, again, is documented. We have my other team members on the call this evening to also be able to take the notes of the session this evening, and so that we'll be able to document those, consider how we'll be able to implement those into the plans moving forward. Just so that you know as well, we are trying to be as active as possible on social media. We also have our webpage. Audrey takes care of our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well at times. And internally, we're trying to really build an internal community within the airport community online on a platform that we call Yammer. So that's something that we're trying to stimulate and build as well. But the idea is that we're really trying to communicate about the project as much as possible. So if there's any ways that you feel that we can be also communicating, feel free to let us know as well. Every suggestion really helps. We have the webpage, of course, that's a regular website, sxmairport.com, and then you go to the construction tab. If any information that you're looking for or that you know others are looking for pertaining to the project will all be covered under that tab. And that's specifically pertaining to the reconstruction. We also have what we call the GRM, that's the grievance redress mechanism. And so that is where we allow anyone to basically anyone that has a grievance be able to come in and go on the website, come in and address their grievances, well, send us their grievances. It's a platform where they can submit their grievances, whether via phone, email, web form, etc. So there's multiple platforms. We even have a Dropbox here at the airport. So anyone that has a complaint about the project, pertaining to the project specifically, not just the regular airport operations, they'll be able to document those grievances there. And of course, we'll be able to handle those grievances accordingly. Again, I just want to mention that we do plan to have another session that's April 15th at 7 p.m., same time, same place, virtually. And the idea is that we'll be looking at what we call package 1 and 1A, which is the setup that we're using now, and what we are calling the package 2 pre-works. That's the works that, if you guys were paying attention, the works that the contractors were doing here at the airport. Next time when we come, we'll be able to get into those. We'll also be taking the time out to go more in depth on the World Bank requirements and procedures. I'm not sure if you guys know, but this is considered a World Bank project. So that means we have to follow the requirements and procedures of the World Bank. And also one of the things we can touch on the next time is the bidding process. So the process of how we select a contractor. I won't be able to go too much in depth on that this evening, but I do want to mention, take the time out to mention that 2 days ago, March 23rd, we were able to close that bidding process. So all the contractors who were looking to bid, That's the article that you saw in the newspapers recently. I think that was yesterday.
Hello, excuse me 1 second, Damien. Some of the other participants are trying to get on, but I made you the host. Can you assist? I cannot get through to get them. They're waiting in the lobby.
I just saw one there, so I admitted her, I guess. Yeah, so I think that person should be in now. Yeah, so those are some of the topics that we want to be able to get into. Hopefully we'll be able to package all of that into a second session. If not, we're open to even a third session. So again, the idea is that we keep these info sessions as frequently as possible. Of course, we also want to be able to come to you with relevant information as well. But just to let you know that this will definitely not be the last time that you're hearing from us. So this evening, again, we'll just do the recap, and then we'll jump over to the package 2 project. Again, these 2 topics we'll be able to jump into next time. Yeah. So in terms of a recap, some of you I just want to take us down memory lane a little bit and really show some of the pictures of what the airport looked like before Hurricane Irma in September 2017. So these are some of the pictures of the building. Here you see the check-in hall, of course. On the top right, you see the area where what we call the meet and greet area, so where your friends and family or you yourself would come out from when you arrive at the airport. Down in the bottom is where, on the right, is where you'll see the area of the baggage reclaim area where you take up your bags off of the belt. In the bottom right, again, you see an area of the food court, what we call the food court area on the check-in side. Yeah. So just to kind of give you an impression of where we were at the time before this image became our reality. We're going to jump through some of these images. Of course, in September 2017, Hurricane Irma happened and devastated our beloved airport. Soon after that, I think that was in October, we were able to reopen the airport using large tents and what we considered the makeshift airports at the time. Again, using large tents to be able to carry out the facility. Of course, some of that was also done in our makeup area. I really always need to commend the team here at the airport who were able to put this together, because it was really a creative process on trying to figure out how we can manage thousands of people through no airport, so to speak. So it always have to commend the team for that. Then after a few months, we moved over to what we call the pavilion tents. These were larger structures. They were able to house even more persons. Of course, after a few months, more persons started to travel, more flights started to come back. So the little tents that we had were not sufficient. So we had to invest in large pavilion tents that were able to then process the thousands of people that we needed to process. Just to kind of give you an impression, if I'm not mistaken, the numbers at the time that we were looking at was somewhere around 6,000, 3 to 6,000, I think, on a Saturday. Saturday being one of our busiest days. So of course, you could imagine there's only so much we could have handled with the large tents. Yeah. So that kind of gives us a brief recap of where we were and what we had to go through for us to be able to get here, basically. So now we look at the package, what we call the package 2 pre-works. So the pre-works are basically the works that need to get done before we can actually start the reconstruction. the pre-works consists of two major projects. First of all, the sprinkler repair system. After the hurricane devastated the airport, we weren't able to use the airport. We activated only the parts of the sprinkler system that we needed for us to be able to operate now, what we're calling package one. Again, package one we'll explain in further detail during a follow-up session. And then the second major project that falls under the pre-works is the mold remediation and waste disposal. And so the mold remediation and waste disposal is basically where, and we'll get into that later, but the idea is, at least this chart shows that the guys are on track to completing. Lovani, just so that you know, level 2 and level 0 were completed. So actually I need to update this chart. We just got word that all levels have been completed today. And so within a few days, the contractor will be wrapping up and heading home, actually. That's great news, because now that the building is clear and all areas have been mold remediated, we'll now be able to now can guarantee that we have a clean building again. And so that building will be able to hand over to the main contractor when they come online. Yeah. And so some may ask, what's the reason why we had to do this big expensive mold remediation project? And so one of the main reasons, well, the main reason why is because because of all what happened with the airport, the water stagnated, water got into the building, stagnated, it couldn't get rid of it, mold started to grow, of course. And so these mold spores were very, very dangerous, of course, and we were not allowed to put persons back into the building without really cleaning it properly. The issue here is that it's not the kind of mold that you can clean with typical household products. We really needed to get a specific certified contractor who's certified in mold remediation to be able to do this work. The waste disposal part basically focuses on what we would call, or what you can call, the gutting of the building. On the bottom left, you see some of the guys demolishing some of the areas, demolishing some of the areas that will be replaced when we're doing the build back. And then on the second picture, you're seeing the company Farmer EG, and Farmer EG stands for Environmental Group, and they are an environmental consultant that confirms that the mold has been removed and there's basically no more mold in the building, or at least not to a level that is harmful. Yeah, AAR is the name of the company who did the who won the bid to do the mold remediation and waste disposal project. Yeah. So now that we have a clean building again, now we'll be able to be able to reconstruct without any major issues in terms of health and whatnot. The good thing here, we have to always pause as well. The good thing here is that we can confirm that there's been a lot of knowledge transfer. The contractor AR, they use a lot of local guys. I think it was up to 80 local guys that they trained, some of them from your communities that they trained to be able to handle mold. They trained on how to be able to use the equipment that they needed to use. So a lot of that knowledge was transferred here locally. So that's also something that we are very proud about as well. On any given day, you could have come here and find at least 45 guys working. And just for your understanding, they were working in shifts. So I think they would work 3 days on, 2 days off, etc. So that was also a very great initiative from them as well. And that's something that we baked into the project to stimulate the contractor to use local workers as much as possible. Just to kind of give you an image and an idea of what this mold looked like and why we couldn't just use some bleach and Tilex to wipe down the place. This was the kind of mold, some of the kind of molds that we found. We also have lots more images, of course, but of course, this is not the type of not the type of mold that you would want to just have any and anybody come in and clean. Yeah. So now that that project is finished, the idea is that we'll now be really focusing and moving forward on, oops, presentation not working with me here. Let me go back. I know what happened already. Because we hit some of the slides that we couldn't get into is why we're having this issue, but I'll just jump around to them. That's not a problem. There we go. So now we want to look at the reconstruction project and the timeline. Of course, we get the question, why are things taking so long? And it's not an easy answer. There's, just so you understand, there's a lot, especially there's a lot of documentation that needs to happen before the project can actually start, before somebody can start to pong a nail. There's a lot of documentation that needs to happen, especially because this is a World Bank project. And so, as I mentioned, we started this mold remediation project in November 2020, and that project will end, again, pretty much on schedule, which would be April 2021. In the meantime, we published what we call the SPN. That's basically the special procurement notice and the invitation to bid over in October. And that basically means the bidding documents for the main contractor. So for this main reconstruction project, there's a bidding document that needs to go out, of course. And so that document we publish in October. And so the idea is that initially, we'll get more into details in that, but we published that in October, and then the idea is now between October and July, we'll be able to send out the bid, get back the bid, evaluate, and then choose a contractor so that they can start to at least mobilize in July. That's the plans, and then we'll be able to complete the project by March 2023. Just to kind of take a closer look as to what has been happening since October. Of course, before October, as I mentioned, there's a lot of documentation. Maarten could tell you all about that was happening. But since November, October, November, since we released the bidding documents, we received a total of almost 300 or over 300 questions pertaining to the bid. This basically means that companies, major construction companies, international construction companies who were interested in bidding the document and coming here to bid, who were interested in bidding on the project, they were submitting questions back to us based on the bid that we sent out. And those questions came up to about 300, if not more. And so, of course, each one of those questions took time and attention to be able to handle. You know, these are the numbers here: 125 in November, another 72 questions in December, another 52, 51, etc. So that, of course, took a lot of time, and those are the things that we were really focusing on since, well, for the latter part of the year and the first part of this year. The idea is between now that the bid is closed, again, now that we have received the bidding documents or the proposals from those international construction companies, we will be spending the upcoming weeks and months focusing on the evaluation of those bids, making sure that we choose the best company to be able to come in and provide us with their services in terms of really reconstructing the airport. And again, I think I mentioned that before, the idea is that by July, we'll be able to complete that bidding evaluation. And of course, that takes time because there's 100-page documents for each one. And of course, it's a team, so that needs to take some time for them to go through, engage in conversations with the preferred bidders, etc. So that will definitely take some time. I also need to, yeah, I'll leave that there. Just to kind of give a bit of an overview of what the reconstruction really means. For us, the reconstruction of the terminal comes with a couple of packages, or can be split up in a couple of packages. So you're looking at first the actual P2, package 2. Reconstruction of the terminal building would mean reconstructing all the stores, the offices, etc. But that also includes the escalators. We're putting in, I think it's 2 or 3 new escalators. We're putting in some extra elevators. We're updating the flooring, etc. to terrazzo flooring. I just see someone else joining, so I've added her as well. Then we also have what we call 7 equipment packages. And so you see the list of equipment packages here. The main ones that we're focused on right now, and that's taken up a lot of our time and attention, are the first 2 / the first 4. And the first one, of course, is the passenger boarding bridges. If you guys paid attention or came close to the airport recently, you'll notice that some of our boarding bridges are gone. I think we only have 1 or 2 left. And so the idea is that those boarding bridges will be replaced as well. Sorry. We also have the baggage handling system. We'll get into that later. But these are the 2 main projects that really take a lot of time to procure. Basically, between actually ordering the project and delivering and installing the project could take a good year and change, if not more. So that's while we're actually busy working on this main reconstruction project, these are other smaller projects that we're also working on at the same time. So we definitely have our hands full here at the project team office. So based on that, we want to also highlight some of the main upgrades and improvements that we have. And we have a bunch of different stakeholder groups, and we try to split up the improvements based on the stakeholder groups. These are definitely not all, but we try to highlight them as much as possible. So for the passengers, if you consider yourself a passenger, we hope that you'll enjoy our new escalators to all our jet bridges. So before, when you came off one of the jet bridges, imagine you came off of American Airlines or Delta. I'm a Delta fan myself. You came off of the Delta, depending on where you came, which gate you came in at, you had to walk down some stairs. Now, all of us are getting older. All of us would eventually have issues with our knees, if not, and some of us have children that have to, are not always the lightest, and stuff in your hands and stuff like that. So walking down the stairs was not always the easiest. So now we're including escalators at those jet bridges as well, so that all the jet bridges, it'll make it easier for you to move around the airport. There'll also be more check-in kiosks. That's something that we hope you'll enjoy. And what we call the self-service bag drops. So what we notice in the airline industry, airport industry, is that we see another person joining. I think the Zoom user is joining back actually. So what we notice in the airline community is that there's lots of persons checking in online via your phone, via your tablet, via your computer the night before, the day before, the morning of, and then just want to come to the airport to drop off their bags. This is something that you can do in some of the bigger airports, especially in the US or in the Netherlands. And so pretty soon we'll be able to do that here as well. So you'll be able to do that from before at the, via your phone or via your tablet, via your computer, or you can be able to do that via our check-in kiosk that we'll have at the airport. And then when you come to the airport now, you just need to drop off your bag at the self-service baggage drops. We'll also have some larger flight information displays. So those are the big flight displays that have all the information pertaining to the flight, which flight is on time, etc. And we'll also have a new baggage service office. This is the office. I don't know if that ever happened to you, but that happens to some of us sometimes, where you traveled and for some reason your bag didn't come with you. And so the agents would tell you, yeah, go home and then we'll call you tomorrow, or pass back later in the afternoon and we'll see if you have your bag. When you come back in the afternoon, you didn't know where to go. So now we have a dedicated location where the agents will be able to meet you, greet you with you, and be able to assist you with your bags. Yeah, those are just some of the major highlights in terms of some of the improvements and changes. We also have some great improvements and updates for our concessionaires as well. Those are people that have the stores at the airport. We'll be adding more. Added, I see Wendy Jackson added her as well, someone joining the call. We have more additional concessions. That's both on the land side and air side, so before security and after security. We'll be adding, what we have added already is the stronger roof. So now the roof is able to withstand 185 mile per hour hurricane. I hope we don't ever have to test that again. Of course, the entry doors will be enhanced as well. During the hurricane, or after the hurricane, we realized that that was one of the weaker points in the building, so we're reinforcing those. As I mentioned before, there's new terrazzo floors. If you're not sure what terrazzo floor is, it's something like an epoxy. The good thing is it's a bit more durable than tile, and because it's basically it's like how I try to explain it in simple terms is it's kind of like a liquid that gets hard and it looks nice and shiny afterwards. So the good thing is with that, if we need to do any work throughout the building, dig up the floors, lay some electrical cables, etc., which we would need to do from time to time, we wouldn't really need to go and hunt down tiles and store tiles, etc. So this makes it a bit easier for us as well. And in general, we'll be making better use of the floor space throughout the terminal. We also have some major upgrades for the airlines as well. They have some redesigned check-in counters, which was a major point for them. And the car rentals, what might be interesting for you is that the car rentals, if you have friends or family who rent car when they reach to the airport, the car rentals will also be getting an improved location. I'll show you some pictures in just a few. So those are some of the improvement that we were able to pick out of the project. Of course, there's more, some environmental stuff and whatnot. And so hopefully, again, in another session, we'll be able to go into more details on those. But those are just some of the highlights on the improvements and upgrades that we're doing to the building. And so right now, I want to go through some pictures of what we had before and what we'll be able to get in a few, I want to say in a few months, in a few long months. Let me just make a quick note before I forget. So this is a picture of the old check-in hall after the hurricane. I hope these pictures don't make you too emotional. But this is what some of the pictures look like before the hurricane. So this is in the check-in hall where you would go to check in for your Winair flight, your American flights, etc. And after the project is finished, this is what we hope it would look like. What you're seeing here is, of course, the check-in counters in front of you with a renewed design. And so if you're not seeing it here, but these counters are able to actually swing out like doors and then close back behind the agent. So the agent doesn't, before we had a system where the agents actually used to have to step up on the baggage belt that's here to be able to get behind the counter. And so with the new setup, they'll be able to just open it like a door, walk in and then close it behind them and then start to do their work. You're seeing here some of the signage as well. Some signage, some of the signage beacons. Up top, you're seeing the large flight information display, so that this is the flight screens that will be letting you know which flights are coming in and leaving. This is what we call the departure the departure hall east. Not sure if you guys would remember, this was the relay store. Over here was the ESCA, and here was the shipwreck store. And this is where you used to enter after you finish passing security. Where you're standing here in this area is where you're closer to the area where Winner used to leave and take the passengers, what we call the sea gates. Just I hope everyone is able to recollect. I know it's been a while, but I hope you're able to recollect. And so in that same area, this is what we expect it to look like. Yeah, you have your concessions on both sides. This is the same area by security. We have some office spaces upstairs. Again, big flight information displays to let you know where you're heading to. This is entering into the departure hall from after you pass security. Those of you that remember the Blanc Dunil store, and if I'm not mistaken, this was the Colombian Emeralds. Right, Audrey? I hope I have it right.
Definitely, you're correct. Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then this, where you see the tile here, this is the walkthrough store, which was Princess Promenade. So this is what we expect that area to look like when we're finished. Yeah. In the interest of time, I'll try to zip through some of these pictures. This is the departure food court, at least what it used to look like. So in the image where we're showing the guys demolishing, this is the actual structure that they were demolishing. This was the bar, the Tallulah Flights bar. And over here is where we had Domino's, Fleming's Cafe, Johnny Burger, and I feel like I'm missing somebody else actually. These were the bathrooms over here. And so in the new concept, this is what we're looking at. And the theme that we're going, these are the bathrooms. The concessions are still in the same spot, roughly. The idea is that we'll have a nice bar in this area with an area for families, a play area for families to be able to sit comfortably and allow the kids to play while you wait on your flight. The idea that we're going for here is I wonder if I should make people guess actually. I'm curious to know if people would guess it. Can you guys guess what the concept is with the food court area? Irma, I see you smiling. What does it look like to you? If anything at all. Maybe it doesn't look like anything, then we have to do a better job.
It looks like no food.
But you have to imagine the food at this point. Anyone else?
I can't tell. That you can enjoy the view?
Sorry?
The view? No, it's something with that top, that top right there. The top? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, something with to do with that. I don't know. The food will be coming down from on top.
I think we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job at the design. So the idea and concept that we're going for is a mega yacht concept. So really give passengers the experience of being served on and experiencing a mega yacht just before they take their flight. Of course, mega yachts is something that St. Maarten is well known for, having all these mega yachts around. So we try to implant that concept into the design as well. So you guys see it?
Yeah, I'm seeing it now.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes,
okay.
I'm seeing it. Yes.
Okay. At least we're not too far off then. So this is the area in the departure hall as well, over by the A1. This was all the way down. Sometimes I think KLM used to leave from here often, KLM Air France. This was the business class lounge, I think here. Yeah. And then these were the stairs to go downstairs to the B gates. The B gates is the area where you used to go to take
business class lounge.
Yeah. And the B gates is where you used to go to take primarily the flights to Curacao, etc. The Insulair, stuff like that. So that's this area. If you remember correctly, it was kind of sterile with just chairs. And I think we had a little coffee area over behind this elevator shaft. So after the build back, this is kind of what we're looking at. So we'll have some concessions in this area. What I don't think you'll be able to see in this version is our new business class lounge, for those of you that travel business class, or that use the business class lounge, will be outfitted with a host of new features, updated features. One of the features I'm most proud about is it will have showers. So those persons who need to take a shower before they leave, be able to do that now at our airport. I think that makes us very innovative. But aside from that, it will actually be 2 floors instead of 1. So you'll be able to come upstairs, enter somewhere in this area, if I'm not mistaken, and actually go upstairs. And upstairs we'll have even more amenities for persons to enjoy. We'll also have a balcony where you can go up to the business class lounge, go in the business class lounge, go upstairs on the 2nd floor and come out and be able to have a nice view of the entire departure hall. So we think that those things would definitely help to set the business class lounge apart. So you'll be able to go inside or come out on the balcony. Yeah. And then one of the last areas that probably will get...
There's a quick question, Damien, asking, will we have a spa?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, we could get a little, massage. You know how a long travel could be? Sometimes it got delay. You just get a massage in before that.
Let's just say, I'm glad that you brought up the question. So we'll be able to take this back to our commercial team and let them know there's interest in having a spa at the airport.
Hey, just say, if y'all going shower, you might as well.
This is why we have these info sessions. So you'll be able to let us know, and then we'll be able to go back and be like, hey, we need a spa.
What about the chairs, the massage chairs?
So
yes.
Just to recap, so you guys understand the frame of where we're coming from as well. Our responsibility as a project team is really just to rebuild the airport and hand it back to the operations team. So the operation team in this case would then be the commercial department, who's responsible for all these new ideas, which are not bad ideas, of course, and which are definitely interesting stuff. And the actual operations department. I see Mr. Irion is logging in as well. Mr. Irion is in the call as well. So good evening, Mr. I'm not sure if you're on behalf of FinMin or on behalf of the Community Council. Or a bit of both. But welcome to the call still. So as I was mentioning, the idea is that, oh, and he's off again. The idea is that we'll be able to, our job as the project team is really to be able to reconstruct the airport and hand it back to these guys who are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the airport. But again, because of this platform, because of this info session platform, we have that conversation with you, and we'll be able to take these back now to the operations team and say, the operating team, then let me say it like that, and say, hey, this is something that people have been asking for, how can we take a look at it? So I noted down the spa and I noted down the massage chairs. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, this is the meet and greet area. I showed it in the beginning as well. If you remember correctly, these are the car rental booths. This is the bathroom. This is where you used to come out and meet your friends and family. This is also the area that is now being used and operated. And this will be the area that I find is actually going to be the most renovated well, the most changed the most actually, because when we're finished, this is what we actually plan to have that space look like. As I mentioned earlier, the idea is that the car rentals will actually now be situated in this space where you'll be able to exit your flight. So imagine you're exiting your flight here. Those who are taking car rentals, they can stop here to get their car. And then you who are coming home and meeting your friends and family, you just continue out and be able to greet your family here. There's also the food court in the back here where you'll be able to go and enjoy your food and beverage before you leave the airport. This is one of the biggest changes that structurally, I think that you'll see in terms of moving through the airport. Yeah. And before we close, I want to display this video, and I hope it works well here. If not, then we'll have to pull it up on my pull up the actual file. So this video basically shows a rendering of everything from the beginning to the end. And I'll try to talk over the video so that you'll be able to get a good impression of where we're at. So this was you're entering into the check-in area, as I showed before. This gives you a good view of the entire check-in hall. Large flight information displays, signage. These are the check-in kiosks that I mentioned. The doors, as you see, are redone. In the back here, you see, down in the back, you'll see the baggage drop, self-service bag drop. So now we're walking towards the area where you go upstairs to take your flight. You see, these are the ticket booths, the renovated ticket booths. You see the check-in counters, and this is how the check-in counters would look when they're pulled open. And again, the agents could just walk in and sit. And now we're walking towards the food court area, what we call the landside food court area. All these black spaces that you see here will be spaces for our concessionaires, those who are selling food and beverage, etc. So this is where the Burger King was, the cafe was, the Subway, etc. Those will all come back pretty much in the same spaces. Well, those spaces will be made available again for concessionaires again. We also have some concessionaires on the left-hand side. So now we're going upstairs to take your flight. So where you go upstairs to pass security. What we're doing now is actually going through security first and then immigration. We'll also be using automated immigration booths as well. This is where you enter into the duty-free area, the departure area, our mega yacht concept. Where there's some concessions here again, the bar down in the back, overlooking the flight, the airfield. The facades, I think you call it, of the bathrooms will also be redone. And these will be another 2 Here are some other spaces for concessions. We'll have concessions going all along here. The elevator shaft will also be redone to be glass, which lets in a lot more light. This is, of course, the entrance to the executive lounge. And over in the corner there, you're seeing the balcony of the executive lounge. Yeah, so as I mentioned, you'll be able to go inside, go upstairs, and come over on the balcony and enjoy the view from there. We'll also be adding an extra bar area in this area. Again, because it was so sterile at the time, we decided to add an extra bar space here. At least that's the plan. And we'll be having a space here as well for our agents to be able to handle any passengers that needs assistance. This is the bar I was mentioning. I think we're referring to this as the A1 bar. So on arrival, when you come on your flight, you come off the jet bridge, you enter into this space. And as I mentioned, you're going down escalators now and no longer stairs. You're walking into what we call the sun, sand, and sea corridor, where you're overlooking the colored glass panels, looking at the persons taking their bags. This is the other escalator, one of the other escalators that we're adding in. You're going to walk up further until you get to the immigration point. We're introducing the, I'm not sure, the name is the, I think it's EBC gates. I'm not sure of the name right now, but the idea is we'll be using an automated system.
Automatic border control, ABC.
Okay, yes.
Say that again, Mato?
Yes, ABC.
ABC, there we go.
ABC as in automated border control kiosk.
Automated border control, thank you very much. So that's, this system will basically, just like how you go to the US and you have to go to the ESTA machines to be able to gain entrance, it will be a similar system here. If you've been to Aruba or Curacao recently in the past 3 years, it's a similar system. You pass the immigration officers for those that need to do extra check. You go down the stairs. And you enter to the area where you have to reclaim your bags. After reclaiming your bags, you're gonna head out into the departure area, the meet and greet area. I think this is the area also where we'll be introducing now bringing back the concession space. I think we have I'm not sure if it's this space based on the renderings, but we'll also have a concession space again in the arrival area or baggage reclaim area. So you're passing customs and now you're heading out into the car rental space first. So you can stop here, get your cars. Well, those that need to stop to get a car rental. And just so you understand, one of the main reasons why we included this is because one of the car rentals are one of our major stakeholders, of course, at the airport, and they do a lot of business at the airport. They're paying rent for the space at the airport, but their complaint was that they weren't getting a lot of acknowledgement when they're at the airport. So when a passenger comes, they weren't really seeing the car rentals properly, or the car rentals didn't feel like they were getting a premium experience. So and then the other issue was that people who didn't have agreements with the airport were able to come up to the door and propose their car rental services, which is of course not something that we tolerate it, but of course things used to happen. So the idea is we really kind of created this space, this tunnel area basically, where persons would be able to, if you have a car and want to take one of our preferred car rentals, you'll be able to use this space first or reach this space first before you exit. And so after you leave that space, as I mentioned, you can go over to the food court area, or you meet your friends and family and go through the doors. There'll also be space here again for another concession area. And you see some of the bathroom designs here as well. And that was basically a quick journey and trip throughout the terminal. Of course, these are still renderings and still what we hope the situation would look like. Let's skip through this. So again, we really would want to hear some of your input. We really would appreciate if you can share your input with us, any suggestions, ideas, as we already mentioned, the spa and the massage chairs that persons will be interested in seeing. But if there's anything else, any ideas, any questions or concerns, please feel free to share them with us. We'll take a few questions in a moment, but we just want to let you know that, you know, if there's anything that you think you can contribute or just want to ask, because asking a question might help to trigger us to think of another solution, but feel free to reach out to us and get those questions answered and those ideas shared.